Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees Podcast. Hopefully, I think some people heard that. I thought we were starting. I thought I'd missed some things. I'm very much looking forward to potentially having some better internet, which hasn't been terrible. It's been better than I expected. But
Ted was wall hacking the podcast. He moved through the wall when the podcast happened.
But how's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing well, John. I think from the pre-show talk we had, I think things aren't so great.
No, I'm sick as a dog and have been for longer than I thought you could be sick as a dog. But it's because I have laughed. I put my thumb in the eyes of fate for 39 years and 51 months about my cast iron constitution where no food can harm me. And not true anymore. Not true. So I'm just trying to get through the day. But other than that, I guess I'm okay. How about you, Ted?
Okay. Well, I got through COVID, which was good.
Congrats.
But managed to test negative, was able to attend the Kickers game. That was fun. Got myself a brand new blue kit.
It looked cool. I saw a picture of it with you and your wife.
My realtor, who's also a Kickers fan, which is how he's my realtor, stopped by. And I was like, don't worry, we got the money for the house when we brought 2 brand new Kickers jerseys. And he's like, it's okay. I had a client show up with 2 brand new BMWs. And I'm like, well, the jerseys are expensive, but they do cost less than a BMW. I am 90% confident.
They're like, whenever you're going to buy a jersey, make sure you buy it after you close on your house. Don't buy the jersey before you close on the house. That's the old cliche.
I mean, with tariffs and everything like that, who knows?
You never know.
Cost as much as a BMW. You never know. But yes, got the new blue kit. I got Darwin Espinal, so the Bobcats and Loudon fans in the chat. He's become quite quickly my new favorite player on the team. Man, we're just dealing with sickness too, man. I got COVID. You got food poisoning. And we're just running through it. And you know what? DC, I think, was listening to us and they're like, you know what? Let's give these guys a win to talk about.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And, normally I'm feeling pretty good after a win. I'm feeling really up. I'm like, hey, we won. Things are getting better. It's our second win in 3 games. Let's bring on the positivity, right? But I haven't been. I kind of felt it was weird. I haven't felt. I feel like the news we've gotten about Pogba, everything kind of surrounding the club, I've started to sour very, very quickly on this team. And the Pogba news, I think I was coming off COVID. I think the news dropped on a Monday, so I wasn't feeling. And then I kind of thought about the Pogba news, and I'm like, this really pisses me off. This makes me more mad at ownership. As Tom Bogart's reported, it's an ownership led thing. It's an ownership led driven initiative. It just reeks of what are we doing? Are we actually going forward with a plan, or are we just winging it? Regardless of what you think of Ali Mackay, regardless of what you think about his moves, about how things have looked, the returns, those returns, you look at this game, maybe they're starting to bear some fruit. There were some players that he's acquired. And again, most of the players, on this roster he's acquired that played very well today. They've shown signs that, if you maybe stick with this a little bit longer, it might bear some fruit. Instead, it feel, the whole aura around the whole Pogba news, it just feels like Jason Levy and hitting the panic button, being like, I gotta give the fans something to cheer about. I know, let's go grab him. And Jason, if you're listening to this podcast, and I know you aren't, that's not what the fans want. The fans want a winner. You want to put butts in seats. You want to have a positive influence on the show. The fans want winners. The fans also, if you follow DC sports, you will know that the players that everyone talks about, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, the players everybody talks about, the ones that, either other teams, there isn't the sort of developmental type pathway that other sports, that soccer has, that exists in other sports. But a lot of players talk about the guys they've drafted. They talk about the Juan Sotos who they got in the draft. They talk about the goodness, I can't remember the Commanders quarterback right now. Its name's completely escaped me. Jaden Daniels, who was drafted. They talk about Alex Ovechkin, who, by the way, is leading the Capitals, hopefully to maybe another Stanley Cup and getting the goal scoring. Those are the types of people we talk about in DC. And you have a robust academy sitting right in front of you, the ability to develop players and also develop a winner and just do that type of thing. You don't need to intervene in your way. And I feel like that's what this feels like. It feels like the owner not happy with the way things are going and just wants to go out and get a name and sell jerseys. And he thinks that's what's going to be successful, but it isn't. It's going to be, another flash in the pan, and Rooney was a good flash in the pan. That's your best hope, is that you get a player in and he behaves like Wayne Rooney, but then he's gone in a year, and then what are you left with? So I honestly came into this game, this is the most down. It felt very much like I was my wife was like, oh my gosh, we got to get, back so you can watch the DC game. And I'm like, honestly, if I miss 10 minutes, who cares? Honestly, I felt more down on this team than ever. But then they went out and got a win. I don't know.
John, you thought you were out, and then they pulled you back in.
They pulled me back in, but we'll get into it. I've sucked up enough time. John,
I just think it's funny. You said second win in 3, and then Steve Goff says United's third win in the past 18 home games. That's a glass half full reading of the situation for sure.
The stats can be written in many ways, and apparently teams can also win soccer games without taking a single shot on goal.
Yeah.
Which Ben Olsen,
who was that again?
The Sporty KC and LA Galaxy. So we're not that down, that levels of down bad. I'm not sure who's the most down bad. You won a game, but you don't get any sort of shot on goal. So I guess you're happy you got 3 points, but also what does that mean about your team? And then on the flip, I just feel like that's a game where someone wins and no one is happy. No one has to be happy with the way things are going.
No matter who wins, everyone loses kind of situation.
But DC United won. And I think, I do think there are some very specific positives. Mostly, I wish we played in the Western Conference and not the Eastern Conference.
That would be helpful. I agree with that.
But John, how are you? We talked a little bit on Monday. I think settled in. What are your vibes on the team right now?
It's very challenging because this team has to put a whole bunch of things together to have a real cohesive narrative built around it. I think there's so much negative early on in the season that it's going to take a couple wins in a row. It's going to take points on the road. It's going to take beating a team that is substantially more talented than you are to really sort of change the narrative. Right now, it feels like I think we already talked about dead cat bounces. I think it kind of, you're all right, this is good. I'm glad it happened, but the trend line is still not an upward one yet. So I think one thing we wanted to see was this team be able to protect a lead for a long period of time. We saw that in this game. That's good. We saw players taking opportunities, taking shots outside the 18, being more sort of daring and aggressive with that. I think that's good. Hit the post 3 times in this game, at least twice. I think maybe even 3 times. I think there are, when you talk about sort of players that really surprised, I'm not, Kojima continues to be the player that sort of has a split personality, and that it's very dependent on where they put him and what the team's goals are for that game to see how much he can contribute. But every time he scores, the fans are like, play him in Jared Stroud's spot. Play him at the 9. Play him in the 10. Mm-hmm. Just get him further forward. And that's, I think we've said from the start, he's not that guy. He's an 8. I think that's really where you want him. But I think Brandon Cervania needs to be talked about because that was probably his best match. And Troy explicitly now in the pregame press conference for Charleston talked about how much he loves the way he practices. So we speculated about that. Is he a practice player that Troy loves because he's a practice player? I think it's part of it. And now he even sort of alluded to him as a senior leader on the team, which I'm sure it trips him out because I think he's probably 26, maybe even younger. But yeah, I'm glad they won. It doesn't change sort of anything that we've said beforehand. But they've got to get points. I'm glad they got that. I wish we saw Ted be a little bit more impactful because that hurts my narrative that I was talking about how much we missed him. But again, this is only his 3rd appearance, so I'm not gonna ride him too hard.
Yeah, man, there were some spicy moments between Ted. I will say, man, Ted looked, I don't want to say miserable, but just did not look. Obviously, his team lost, so he's probably not happy. But it just, I don't know, the vibe from him. The aura I was getting, I guess, from the broadcast, it just looked like a guy who I think is not happy with this move in any stretch. And again, it's early. He's been hurt. He's been trying to work his way back. I have not watched Colorado as much as I probably could to really gain a vibe. I'd be curious to hear what some Colorado fans have to say. But on the vibe seemed and I feel terrible for him because I think he is a truly talented player. But this is the first time he has exited. I think he thought he was going to be in DC this season, and I think to have this move. And it's kind of a shock to the system. And, I'll be, he's paid well. Hopefully he bounces back. But I think it might be tough for him to be sort of away from where he's comfortable. So, as far as talking about Brendan Pennsylvania, I think we kind of talked about it, last week. And so maybe we're eating some crow. Maybe he listens to the show and he's like, I'll show you. He's doing, I think what makes him, why he's on the field. He's doing the job that Boris now and or Matty Peltola can do but for whatever reason, they're just not doing it. And even in this game, I felt like the struggles we saw of Maddie Peltola and Borisy now made themselves very much apparent in this game. The guy was everywhere. The guy was winning balls. I haven't looked. Maybe I need to go into SofaScore. It would not be surprised if he covered the most ground of any player on that team.
Also, he's doing that at a fraction of the salary of both of those two players that you described.
Exactly. And that's kind of the crazy part. He has sort of kind of improved in every game. He started out a little rough, I would say, the first few games, and he has improved, and this was, like you said, his best performance.
FootMob gave him an 8, only behind Kojima and Benteke, who both got 8.1s. So they liked him too. He was everywhere. Grounds covered is not on here. You said there's another place that would be, but I think it is wild to me that it looks like Troy wants to play neither Enau or Peltola in that spot and is doing everything he can to not. And now Enau got forced into that situation, got a yellow card, did not look to be the super more talented of the midfield pairing. So it's a weird situation for sure. Peltola returns to the center back. We thought we could avoid it. We thought we could keep him out off the back line, and it turns out we couldn't. And also, he looks okay back there. He looked better back there. He's been there 2 games now, right? When they've had the back 5.
I think this is the first time I've seen him play this game, but yeah. Looking at the heat map is certainly one of the more. Yeah, he's all over the field comparatively to Borisy now. Like much more effective as far as covering ground than Borisy now. So, but I think this was the first time we've seen, because this was due to suspension/injury. Lucas Bartlett, of course, picking up an injury. Some fans gave some shtick, I think, to the team for loaning Garrison Tubbs and then immediately having to recall him. It seems to me that the injury to Bartlett appears to have been the cause of that, and I'm not sure if that was known at the time. But I think Bartlett going down with an injury kind of pushed them to say, "Well, we got to bring back Tubbs." And now McNaughton went down with an injury, and they had to sub on Tubbs.
And Bartlett is questionable for Tuesday. So.
Yeah. But yeah, we saw Maddie Peltola in that center back spot. I think there were some good moments, and there were also some pretty, I would say, not so good moments. I think there was one nice build-up sort of on the Cerveni goal. I thought he was a big part of that. He continues, like, he's so good. One thing that he still is, like, very good at, I feel like, and why I think, like, I'm like, maybe he could just be like that kind of third center back type role, is he's extremely calm. He kind of collects the ball in the defensive third, and he does do a really good job of sort of helping the team kind of work out under pressure and get on the run. And he does that extremely, extremely well. And he had good moments like that. And then he also has moments where he plays a kind of ill-advised pass across the field that turns into an opportunity. And, we get to the goal, which I think he bears some responsibility for. The whole team is kind of pushed up, and they're pushed up and they're pressing. And it feels like, all teams kind of do is just hold it out. And then as soon as you see if either one of the wingers, if either Aaron Herrera or David Schnegg lose the ball, look up and just pick out that spot. And attackers just move into that space, and you'll get an opportunity. And that's exactly what happened. DC was doing an excellent job attacking. They were controlling the game. You had the opportunity from Cervenia. You had another opportunity from Kojima that hit the post. They were pushing that game. And then right away, David Schnegg loses the ball. Both wingbacks are pushed up. And you have a situation that is a 2-on-2. You have Connor Antley there, and you have Lucas McNaughton there. And I look at Maddie Peltola, and Maddie Peltola is kind of doing a light jog back. And I'm like, buddy, if you maybe picked it up a little bit, I know you're running back from half the field, but maybe your job is kind of to be there as sort of a third player, and maybe that situation doesn't develop. Either close down the player or close down the space and don't give the Colorado attacker such a free header. So this came from B Huzzle. Blue Sky says, is it me or DC cannot literally mark up in the box? Rapid should have been 1-0 up in the first few minutes because DC left Mihalovic wide open on the back post. Seems like a common way to give up goals. Are they not rotating quick enough? Just falling asleep? What gives? And the goal, I think, comes from, I think they're marked up in the box. I don't think Antley covers himself in glory. It's just a situation where this team continues to get punished on the transition. And I don't know if, like, Lesane has the magic solution to that. And I think the solution has to come from your center defensive midfielders. And right now you have both Borisy now and Maddie Peltola, who are not doing that role. Because Cervenia, I think the reason probably also looks so good is he had a little more freedom to move forward because, Borisy now is supposed to be your defensive-minded midfielder. I don't know. I think at this point, the solution has been to play 3 in the back. I think that's kind of helped the situation, but it still leaves them in situations like we saw in the goal. Any thoughts on that? Or
Antley looked just kind of lost at sea there. He moved forward. He lost sight of his mark. Got in the wrong spot. You got to keep an eye on where the attacker is. But it felt sort of like not a gut punch still, because they repelled the actual sort of break opportunity that the Peraza made the save, but it was just, to your point, Maddie taking his time getting back, and then obviously Peraza not able to fully Spider-Man himself away from that. And it was, I think, I'll say how I felt when watching it. I was like, not really deserved, but I don't see us really coming out of this. I'm more likely Colorado's going to be able to sit on this lead pretty well. And then it took almost no time at all.
Yeah. Jim Manzer 88 says, how would you rate Antley's return to the back line? I thought he looked good, but most importantly had aggression that's been missing back there.
Except for that play. That was the stereotypical unaggression. You could see him sort of look over his shoulder and get and sort of deactivate for just a second or two, but that's all you need.
I will say, yeah, I think there was a moment, where a Colorado player, there was Navarro, went to the ground, and Antley kind of comes over and like almost just kind of gets in his face about it, almost like, get up. So, I did not know that was part of Antley's game, but he was definitely maybe playing a little bit of the role of the pest, which I think if you talk about what this team's been missing, it maybe has been a player like that. If you're going to games where you're talent deficient, you need guys to kind of throw other players off their game.
The click of the team.
Exactly.
The Piettes if you're a Montreal fan, who always manages to be that for us.
Exactly.
So I'm glad he's healthy. He certainly has a positional versatility that we need, but I think he's still working his way back.
Yeah. So maybe it's we'll chalk it up to some rust from being injured for so long, and we're going to need him because we got some injuries on the back line we're going to have to fill. Let's so you talk about the game again. I think what we are seeing from this game and some positives for the future. DC, it does show like the ability to kind of work the ball, to move the ball through. You saw the buildup, I think, on the that unfortunately ended kind of comically with Jared Stroud getting upended by Christian Benteke. I have to give credit, and I wanted to call out the guy who did that, but you can definitely see on that opportunity, I think score was still 0-0, that this team is able to insert in situations, able to sort of pass and move the ball. And that is a new part of this team that I don't think we saw much at all last year. And I think maybe that's a part of the team that's coming together. It's really difficult to say. I think the issue with this team obviously is talent deficiency. Even in this game, they're entering with a talent deficiency. Mihalovic has a much better number 10 than any number 10 out there in the field. Their striker Navarro may be comparable to Benteke. I think they were without Corey Baird, I think was a player they've also heavily relied on. But they're entering games where they are talent deficient, and you need players to step up and play above themselves. And we saw Cervania do that, and we saw Kojima do that. I think we saw both the wingbacks in Schnegg and Herrera do that. Those are the players that should certainly be doing that.
They're performing at their level they should be.
Yeah. And I think, again, the problem with this team is you have got, I think they have either average to decent players all over the field. Peraza is an okay to decent goalkeeper. McNaughton is a decent center back. Antley is a average, center back / right back. They've got Peltola as an okay player. In another time in this league, that's enough to be a competitive playoff team. In 2025 MLS, it's not at all appropriate. It's not at all effective. You need like an elite talent at the DP level, and DC doesn't have that right now. But they did look good, and like I said, they pulled it back very quickly. It was a cross, I think, from Schnegg, takes kind of deflection. There was a question, I think, of either offside or handling. Right to Benteke. Benteke does what Benteke does. Down it says Sabatis on Blue Sky says, did Benteke intend his header to play like a bank shot? I think he did. He did what you're supposed to do, which is head the ball down.
Head it down.
Yeah, head it down. It takes a bounce, finally beats Zach Steffen. And it's 1-1. And that is certainly why Benteke is out there. Anyone who sits here and says this team plays better with Benteke, I think you can pretty much go away, because I don't think that's I don't think that's true. But yeah, any other sort of, I guess, talk about the goals, talk about the build up.
No, I mean, I think they were knocking on the door, obviously, even before the first goal came in. We already said that. I'm more interested in the second half, sort of saying, we get the second goal, Kojima is able to score, and we go and sneak into the halftime with a lead, and then basically saying, all right, well, we've got 45 minutes. I didn't feel like we were threatening very much at all in the second half. I think that was by design. But I think that was the most important thing, particularly with the lack of defensive subs that we had available to us. Merle and Badgie coming in to hold the fort down because all the attacking players were left. Someone asked us a question about Randall Leal that I think is probably a good one, in that, is he ever going to play any minutes this season? Is he going to play more? He's going to be ostensibly healthy, but how many more minutes will he have than he played last year for Nashville when he was hurt?
Yeah,
I am curious about what's going on with him.
I think that could be maybe a training question for him. I think we do want to talk about. I feel like we do want to mention the second goal from Kojima, which is just a absolutely like incredible sort of half turn strike. Again, I think Kojima comes out as a player. I really want, he's a player, him along with Peglo, I'll even throw Cervania into that mix, man. I really want to see you get like an elite talent kind of around a player like that. Because Kojima is certainly a good player. That guy, I think we saw what happens when you get like really good talent in a midfield and just how it can kind of change the course of another team when they're sort of connected. And it can turn players it can cause havoc for defenses. And I feel like that's what we've seen some good things for Kojima, but it's like also like when it's sort of expected for him to do everything, he can't quite do that. He doesn't have that sort of game-changing ability, but he can pull up. Like it really was like, I was an incredible sort of recognition. The ball takes kind of a deflection. He kind of runs and he's very quick to sort of recognize that ball is going to drop, not sort of in his path. And he kind of turns around really quickly. And then just, I don't know if whoever the defender was just didn't see him. And he just kind of goes around, turns, fires. It takes Zach Steffen completely off guard. He gets a hand to it. Ball goes in the back of the net. 2-1. Just a real quick turn. DC enters the half up 2-1. And then we get to the second half, and like you said, man, they just shut down shop. What's so amazing is that you watch the second half highlights, you watch the highlight package. It literally goes from halftime to minute 91:45 or 94:45, whenever the game ended. Basically, that's it. And that really is a reflection. It was a boring second half.
There was Colorado had 71% of the ball in the second half. The combined XG between both teams was 0.18. for the entire second half. No shots on target for either team.
Yeah, and full credit to the team. They shut down. I think this is where Cervania started to shine. He was really a pest in the center of the midfield. And I got to give it to Garrison Tubbs, who had literally just set his bag down in Loudon and then picked it back up and got on a flight, or I guess rode the bus back to Audi Field.
The shortest flight.
Then in a away game, it would have made more sense. But yeah, I put his bag down and then I was like, I got to go back. So then he bounced back.
He lucked out because I think they were playing away to Sacramento like on Sunday. So I think he didn't have to deal with time zone changes. So I'm sure he's happy. And
commercial flights.
That too. But he also was on a first place team there for about 5 seconds. So there's ups and downs.
I think you want to be in the higher division on a worse team. No disrespect to Loudon, but
hopefully there's no disrespect coming to us on Tuesday with Charleston winning 4 of its last 5 and third place in the Eastern Conference. I surely hope not.
But I mean, Garrison Tubbs was, I thought, one of the better defenders out there. He had first half, he opens up with just an absolutely crunching tackle that I think really kind of set the tone for sort of the rest of that half. I thought he was really good. We had some of these moments sort of early on in the season, and then it kind of got away from him. So I think he's a player to watch. We're going to have some injuries. Obviously, Bartlett's out, I think, for a couple weeks. I don't know what McNaughton's status is. We're going to need him to step up. Obviously, we're going to have, they kept saying, what was so funny, they kept saying Kai Rawls got a red card. And I'm like, he didn't get a red card.
Yellow card accumulation.
And they kept saying, oh, he's red carded. I'm like, he didn't get a red card. He's yellow card accumulation.
So McNaughton is out. Bodgie's out. Pirani is likely out. And Peglo and Bartlett are questionable. Fletcher is available for Tuesday. And Kai Rawls is back. And I bet you're going to see June too. I think I'm actually kind of excited to make the lineup for that game. I think it'd be kind of interesting. The defense is going to be a little less fun because the options there are few and far between. But when do they play? So they played a Saturday game. They play Tuesday game. Do they play another Saturday? When's the next league game?
I think they go Tuesday and then they go Saturday on the road against Toronto. Gotta hope you can pull out a win there.
You kind of have to. Yeah, I think so.
Then I think then it's Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
So Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday.
And then Saturday again, away against Nashville. So
and back to normal.
quite the little run of games this team has to put up.
You got to beat Toronto because Toronto is writing open letters to their fans in May right now about how bad they are. So you got to beat that team. You got to beat that. If you're an ownership group, I mean, we'd love that if our ownership group was that in tune with the pulse of the fans that felt that they needed to help tamp stuff down and make comments. But if they're doing that in May, then it's real bad. It's real bad up there.
Yeah. One question here from Brendan Cartwright. Luis Barraza was signed only through this year. If he had to make the decision today, do you re-sign him or roll with June and maybe another signing in 2026?
I feel like Barraza's kind of a replaceable player with sort of league. I think there's probably a lot of him in the league, so I wouldn't find the need to, unless he played so well that June did not sniff the lineup again for the rest of the season and this team started to be a winner. I'd say you let him go. Let him find maybe make the offer to re-sign at the end of his contract, but I wouldn't go out of my way. What about you?
I don't think you can look at him and say he's made some decent. I'd say his shot stopping's been a little better than June, but I don't think you look at that and say, yeah, that's a player we need to re-sign for 2025. I'll be surprised they might go ahead and just extend another offer. He might be in his option year and they might just say, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and extend the option. I could see them doing that. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how things look over these next few games. I think if June comes out, I think June does get the start against Charleston. I think he's going to, I think Lessane's going to give him an opportunity to kind of earn his starting job back, give him in theory, a less talented side, but still a fairly good side in USL in Charleston. If you win that game, advance in the cup, then he'll get the next cup game. And I think if he shows that he can step up and play that ability, I think you'll see them flip him out and put June back between the pipes. And so I think June will regain his starting spot by August, I'll say. I
think if Troy and Ali are still employed with the team, for sure. I think you made a bet on him. You're gonna want to see that play out. And I think they will be, to be clear.
RJN from says, do we think we will see either or both of Barajas or Gavin Turner?
On Tuesday?
On Tuesday, yes.
I think we'll see Barajas for sure. I'd hope Turner, but I'm not sure where he is. He's been playing games with the academy. He's been playing games at different places, and I think he had a small injury as well. But I met Barajas was on the bench, so you'll see him. Pirani's out injured, so just based on the numbers, you're gonna see an interesting squad, I think.
Yeah. Do you think Rando Leal plays in the Open Cup?
God, if he doesn't, then what is the point of him? I think that would be my statement on him.
I'm gonna say I think Barajas starts. I think Turner's off the bench. I think Barajas starts. I think Turner's off the bench.
Ted, it is an interesting bit of situation where I am giving USL more credit than Ted, a USL devotee over the long term. I'm like, we got to take this seriously, guys. We can't have Fidel Barajas out here starting. He's played
here's
9
the
minutes.
Thing. Fidel Barajas formerly played for Charleston.
Oh, that's right. This is his revenge game. Hopefully better than Ted's version of the revenge game from this weekend.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, I like that.
We got some. Who do you start at striker at Charleston Battery? I think Benteke. It seemed like to me he's going to play. Like Benteke was going to start. Like Benteke was going to start for maybe the first half, and then you hope you're up by a lot. It does appear to impact that. It does appear to me that Troy Lesane wants to take this seriously. I think he does view this as this is an opportunity for us to make a cup run, an opportunity maybe to save my job if things don't go well. Maybe at least get myself through the summer. Maybe we bring in that big DP sign, whether it's Pogba or somebody else, and we can, then next year will be the year things really start to kick off. So
the defense is so the defense has some injuries right now, so it's not going to look like crazy. It's not going to look like in the past when what was the lineup you roll out against Real Betis in the Capital Cup? It's not going to be like that. So I think you're going to see mostly, I'd say you see 80% of a first choice lineup, and then maybe Leal in, and maybe I don't know about Zohir will be off the bench. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think probably the only thing you're going to see is Randall Leal in for Baji or another midfield player. I think it's going to be mostly the same as last weekend, just with Kyrell's in there and maybe Derek Dotson in for Aaron Herrera. They're going to maybe the fullbacks they'll want to take some miles off their legs potentially since they're so important.
Yeah. Wow. So we got a bunch of questions that came into the chat. Summer transfer window opens July 24th. Is what Timothy's posting right here. And I say, yeah, it's going to be, I think you got to hope they have a player in mind that is signed.
Aside from a certain Italian, French individual.
Yeah. All right. I guess we did get an ask for score predictions for the upcoming game from Kyle. Says open score predictions, please. Since you asked so nicely, what's your thought?
What is it? What's the ruling for extra time in an Open Cup? Does it go to penalties?
It's 30. I think it's a 30 minutes, and then PKs.
I'm gonna go 2-1 DC after time.
I'm gonna go 3-0 DC. I think if Benteke starts, I think they will score very quickly.
Hopefully, that'd be great.
The only if Troy sending out markers that he's taking this one seriously, I think if he rolls now, say if he throws out a lineup, I'll say this: if he throws out a lineup with Benteke starting, I say 3-0. If Benteke doesn't start or doesn't play, then I'm more in line with your prediction that it's going to be like 2-1.
That's quicker.
Because I think Benteke is the ultimate caller of whether like this thing is like taken seriously. I could see a scenario where he doesn't start and then he brings Benteke sort of off the bench, and we'll see. But
I think that's what he did. I think that's what they did against the Kickers. I know that Click was brought off the bench pretty late in the game. They were sort of keeping them in reserves.
So was the guy from Middlesbrough that I can't remember right now who now plays.
Lewis
O'Brien. Yeah,
Lewis O'Brien.
Yeah, I remember that.
I almost said Lewis Morgan. Too many Lewises.
I had a guy who was like really into DC and now like just doesn't really follow them. Like asked me like if Lewis O'Brien was a good player, and I was like, yeah, he's playing in the championship over in Middlesbrough. So yeah,
I thought he's playing for LAFC now.
He is. Yeah, this is
is he playing for them? Is he a factor? Is he starting a lot?
I think so. I'm not sure. I haven't really followed them much.
I'm not at all either. Other than to find out that they're losing their head coach who's going back to Germany.
Yep, smart man.
Yep.
But yeah, he's see. Oh wow, interesting. I thought he would sign with a loan, and now he was signed with Swansea City on a loan. So maybe he doesn't play for them anymore. I thought they had signed him.
He went to Swansea City. Yeah. Okay. Well,
never mind. I thought he was still with the
clearly could have been a player that the whole conversation about him at the time was like, well, of course he's not going to stay with DC. He's a Premier League level player. He's going to go back over there and play. And then since then, he's been everywhere but.
Now he's on Swansea. He's still under contract in Nottingham Forest. He's a loan to DC, loan to Middlesbrough, then loan to Los Angeles FC, and then a loan to Swansea City. So he's now at Swansea City in the Championship. There's no longer any DC connection, or at least that the sale's been done. So
Nottingham Forest sounding like acting like Chelsea right now with the 9 loans for this player.
Well, I think he's a player. I think now the problem too is now they're a team that's going to be potentially playing European football next year. So I think he will either be a free agent or will actually get a move either to the Championship or somewhere else. All right, I think that's going to do it for DC. We want to talk Spirit next. A thrilling and then disappointing and then upsetting fourth to Angel City. Not the cleanest game I think we've seen. We've raved about this team defensively. We talk about the Orlando game. Interesting move was that and I couldn't find any news on this, but the Kingsbury didn't play.
They just basically said they wanted to get minutes for Sandy McIver. I didn't also know this, that Sandy was recovering from injury in her last. We talked about when she came over, how few games she played last year. The reason she wasn't playing was just she is working way back from injury for over a year. And I think at a certain point they were just like, all right, if she's going to play ever, we've got to get her in here. And we got a busy schedule here. Kingsbury will be back guaranteed next week. But they did the thing that they've never done in the last 3-4 years, where they're just like, Aubrey doesn't have to play. Like the team will be okay if she doesn't play. And then we give up 4 goals. We give up 4.
I don't know if you can look at anything and say that she's at fault for anything, but
you don't. But it's just like it's one of those things where if you never do a thing and then all of a sudden do it, it's going to look like the thing that was the problem.
Yeah. So I think Kingsbury will be back in goal. This was like an odd game, man. It really was, because SP Morgan gets 2 goals, so that's great. But
responsible for at least 1.
Yeah, I would say for both goals, she does not cover herself in glory, kind of loses her mark both times. Early part of this game, Angel City were just punishing the left side of the attack. Alyssa Thompson had free reign to basically do whatever she wanted. They were completely just overrunning the offense. I think they switched. I think where things got a little better in the second half is they switched McKenna Morris and Gabby Carl, I think, to put a more defensive minded player out there kind of on the wide side. And I think that's when things got a little bit better for the team. I think SP Morgan especially struggled, I think, to kind of keep up on that right side, and McKenna Morris as well. Not a great performance from her in this game. And then the middle of the field, Mura, I thought, couldn't really control it. Steinbuck really controlled it. This team really misses Al Hirschfeld out there. I hope that she is healthy because she was sorely missed in this game.
I think they're missing quite a few players. I think, it's going to be frustrating to watch Corey Bethune like slowly work her way back into effectiveness. It's the same thing we had to do with Trinity before she went back again. Like it was sort of like, all right, we know she's coming back from injury. You got to give her some time. But this one was just sort of a bummer because I think we talked about it last week. Like this is a game you want to win after the Orlando game. Like granted, there's a lot of injuries, but you're working your way back. It was just, it was an upsetting situation. Jonah is out he received an additional suspension, so he won't be there next week as well. But I think there are a couple things that you can look at and be happy about. Gift Monday is a player who comes in, fills a need at the number 9 while we're still dealing with injuries at that spot. She looked very, very dangerous. Won a Sports Center top 10 play for the penalty she should have won. And then there was she finished. She's had interesting finishes. Her first goal was the one where she basically scored from 6 inches out after she stripped the goalkeeper to Orlando. But this is a player who is filling a big need for this club as they continue to sort of recover from injuries. They did not I'd only seen in passing, I think Bernal had not her best game here. Sort of see her in the periphery for the couple times where the defenders get lost. Also, Scylla had a really poor second half. Obviously, you're seeing her. She was a part of the third goal, and she was also on the near post in the fourth goal, and does not cover herself in glory there as well. So I was an unfortunate situation there, I think, from a defensive substitution.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to call it Gift Monday. Gift Monday was fantastic in this game. I kind of saw this and I'm like, man, if you can get her and Corey Bethune up to speed, that is going to just terrorize some defenses. Incredibly good on the dribble. Kouassi continues to be like the most frustrating player just to watch because she does some amazing things and then she does some things like she misses. I think it was called offside. I don't think we'll ever get a clear answer as to whether that was going to be onside. She puts the ball in the net. Maybe that goes to VAR. You talked about the dribble there where she just worked her way back. That whole sequence was confusing to me because I agreed with, I'm like, okay, I don't think that's a PK, but there's definite contact outside the box. Before that, I think you're right to say, okay, it's not a PK, it's a foul outside the box. I don't know.
Overturning it all the way and going the other direction was a bit of a stretch on VAR, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the situation is that if you don't think there's a foul, then yes, it's a drop ball to the keeper because the play is stopped inside the box. So.
Kouassi misses that, not necessarily a sitter, but a thing she would have wanted to finish. But then also her assist to Monday was top drawer. So
and then that finish by Monday was amazing. Like just a half turn, like just side foots it. Really, really.
I just think Kouassi's just not a finisher. Like that was my frustration with her last year too. Is her defensive liabilities at some point and not a finisher. But she can, if you deploy her in the right way and have her next to a finisher, like Monday appears to be, then you make up the other problems around. This team misses Casey Kruger. This team misses Hal Hirschfeld. I think those are the key. Those allow players to go back to where they're supposed to go and maybe turn things around a little bit there. They're still are they second on the table still? Are they third? No, they've all the way down in sixth now.
Yeah. It's early.
Well, with 3 points from the top.
Yeah.
It's a very tight top.
It's a very condensed, and
they're playing the last place Chicago Stars next.
Yeah. So hopefully that one is a win. I'm still calling them the Chicago Red Stars because the name change was literally the dumbest thing in all of it.
It also, Chicago Stars sounds like a youth team, like a U7 youth team.
Owners need to chill. Your capitalist owners need to just chill out. The Red Stars was a cool name. The logo was the logo was a cool logo, and then they just completely abandoned it. So yeah, I mean it's I think this is a team that just needs to get healthy. Once they're healthy, we're going to see them really firing on all cylinders. I think this is a team that I think will sit kind of mid-table, maybe upper echelon. And then I think the real thing's going to be if they get healthy, they are a team that can cause some real damage once they get to the playoffs. So that's going to be the goal. It's going to be the goal. Anything else that I guess called out from this game? What do you make of I do feel like sometimes, when I watch how this team plays and how good they've looked, I mean, Ashley I think is still the leading goal scorer, but she definitely feels like it's very I don't know if she really fits the profile of this team anymore. It's a lot of like Ashley Hatch is a great sort of classic number 9 finisher type player. Movement, gets in the box. I think I view her as like it's very Chris Wondolowski-esque. It's very Jamie Vardy-esque. It's like they're not going to blow you away with amazing speed, but they're going to be the smartest players out there and find it. But it just doesn't feel like it kind of fits. It fits where this team is going in the future.
Well, they keep signing number 9s that aren't her.
Yeah.
So
Gim Monday looks like the first one that is maybe threatening that position a little bit because she looks very good. So once everybody's healthy, once Trinity Rodman's back, once who knows where like Oleana Sarr is just like completely unknown what's up with her. But once those players are back, I don't know.
Or with a mystery diagnosis / return time, Trinity Rodman on the moon or wherever she wants to be at the moment. She's just where she is. So yeah, it's a weird situation for the Spirit. It's a long season, and like you said, you got some time to figure it out.
Yeah. All right, folks. I think that's gonna do it. Is there anything else you want to drop in before we close out?
I hope to be at the game tomorrow, or as you're listening to this today. So if you're around and I'm around, and I'll make sure to notate that. Come by and say hi wherever I'm at. I'll let you know.
I'll be able to watch the second half. So that's all I'm gonna say. All right, folks. That's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much thank you guys so much. We will talk to you guys next week. Vamos.